What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a big-time Dallas Cowboys post-draft breakdown for you, and we're diving into one of the most underrated but absolutely crucial parts of the NFL draft process, the undrafted free agents. That's right. We're talking about the Cowboys UDFA tracker after the 2026 NFL Draft, and the 10 players the Cowboys have reportedly agreed to sign, featuring two really intriguing tight ends in Michael Trigg and DJ Rogers. We're going to go player by player, talk about who they are, why the Cowboys like them, where they might fit on this roster, and which guys actually have a legit chance to make this team, or at least stick on the practice squad. So if you're a Cowboys fan who wants to know more than just the first and second round picks, stay tuned, because some of these undrafted guys end up being the hidden gems that make plays in December when injuries hit. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss any of our Cowboys breakdowns all off-season long. And if you enjoy deep dive roster content like this, drop a like. It really helps out the channel and tells me you want more of it. Alright, let's start with the headline names, the tight ends, because that's where the buzz is. The Cowboys come out of the 2026 NFL Draft and then go aggressively into the UDFA pool to land two athletic pass-catching tight ends, Michael Trigg and DJ Rogers. Tight end is one of those positions in the modern NFL where teams are constantly looking for mismatches, depth, and special teams value. And even though the Cowboys already invested in the position through the draft in recent years, they clearly aren't done turning over stones. Michael Trigg is the one whose name a lot of fans probably recognize from his college days. He's that classic former big-time recruit who never quite put the whole thing together in college, but flashes enough talent that teams want to take a swing. Trigg has that basketball player-type athletic profile, smooth strides, and the kind of frame that makes you think red zone weapon. That's what will intrigue the Cowboys staff. When he's right, he can create separation up the seam, win in the middle of the field, and body defensive backs at the catch point. There were questions about consistency, injuries, and how polished he is as a route runner and as a blocker, and that's why he went undrafted. But UDFA is a perfect situation. No big investment, low risk, high upside. Dallas gives him a shot to show everything he didn't quite show consistently in college. He's going to come in, get with the tight ends coach, and they'll probably focus on two things early: cleaning up his technique as a blocker so he can be playable on early downs, and drilling the timing and details of his routes so he can win on third down and in the red zone. In a room where there are already established names, Trigg doesn't have to be TE1 right away. He just has to show that on 15-20 snaps a game, he can threaten the defense and not be a liability. Then you've got DJ Rogers, another UDFA tight end the Cowboys bring in, and his profile is slightly different but complementary. Rogers might not have the same big school spotlight or recruiting hype as Trigg did, but what stands out with him is his movement skills and effort. He's one of those players where, when you turn on the tape, he's not always getting the ball, but he's always moving, always trying to finish blocks, and he has that quickness in and out of his breaks that can give linebackers and safeties problems. The Cowboys clearly want to create competition in that tight end room and on special teams, and Rogers fits that role nicely. He's the kind of guy that can immediately fight for reps as an H-back, motion tight end, or a core special teamer on kick coverage, punt return, punt coverage, all of that. If you want to make this team as a UDFA tight end, you can't just be a red zone jump ball guy, you've got to play teams. Rogers has that profile: high motor, decent toughness, and enough athleticism to carve out a niche. The battle between Trigg and Rogers, and the rest of the depth guys already on the roster, is going to be one of those under-the-radar camp storylines worth monitoring. One of them could easily be a practice squad stash, and another could steal a roster spot from a veteran if they flash in preseason. Now, beyond the tight ends, the Cowboys signed 8 more UDFAs to bring the total to 10. And that's where things get really interesting from a roster building standpoint. Remember, Dallas has to fill a 90-man offseason roster, and you want to bring in guys who not only fit your schemes, but also hit positions of need and inject competition at spots where you might lack proven depth. So let's talk about the offensive side first, then the defense, and then we'll circle back to overall odds and expectations. On offense, besides Trigg and Rodgers, the Cowboys targeted a couple of intriguing skill position players and one lineman who looks like exactly the type of developmental body they love to work with. We'll call the first skill guy a wide receiver prospect, a classic UDFA long shot with traits, size, deep speed, or crazy college production. Imagine a receiver who maybe didn't play at a Power 5 school, but absolutely dominated his conference. A guy with 200-plus yards and double-digit touchdowns in his final season, maybe at a Group of 5 or FCS level. These are the types Dallas loves to bring in at the back end of the depth chart. He's going to come into a receiver room that already has established stars and role players, but the back half of the depth chart is always fluid. Guys rotate through year to year. This UDFA receiver is going to try to win on special teams and on go routes in camp. If he can show precise route running, strong hands, and some ability as a gunner on punt team, he has a shot at that WR6 spot, or at least a practice squad job where he can keep developing. Then there's the running back UDFA the Cowboys scoop up. This is a prototype move for a team that always needs fresh legs and cheap depth at running back. Late in the draft, teams sometimes pass on backs because they believe they can find comparable value in UDFA, and that might be exactly what Dallas did here. This running back likely has a well-rounded but not elite profile. Decent size, good vision, enough burst to hit the hole, but maybe lacking top-end long speed or didn't catch a ton of passes in college. What he's going to have to show in camp is reliability in pass protection and ball security. Coaches love young backs who don't put the ball on the ground and who will step up to pick up a blitzing linebacker. If he can prove trustworthy on third down, that's a massive plus. On special teams, he may also factor in as a kick return option if he has that straight line juice, or as a coverage guy who can tackle in space. The path for an undrafted running back has been clear around the league. Show up in preseason games, hit the hole hard, protect the football, and make one splash play. The Cowboys have a history of giving UDFA backs a fair shot, and this guy is going to get his carries in August. On the offensive line, the Cowboys bring in an undrafted tackle or guard prospect who fits their mold. Length, movement ability, and ideally some positional flexibility. Maybe he played left tackle in college at a smaller school, but projects inside to guard at the NFL level due to arm length or overall frame. Dallas loves swing-type linemen who can give them reps at guard and tackle or center and guard. For an undrafted offensive lineman, the first job is to come in and prove you're not overwhelmed by NFL power and speed. The Cowboys will throw him into one-on-one pass rush drills, inside run periods, and see how his technique holds up. Hand placement, footwork, and anchor are going to be huge. If he can handle the bull rush, recover versus counters, and show some nasty in the run game, he's in the conversation for the practice squad. And don't underestimate how often offensive linemen get called up mid-season due to injuries. If you're in the building and you've been absorbing the playbook, your name can get called quickly. Dallas has had success turning late picks and UDFAs into usable OL depth before, and they're absolutely hoping this prospect is the next one. Now let's flip to the defensive side, where the Cowboys' UDFA class really starts to look like a strategic effort to bolster depth and competition across all three levels: defensive line, linebacker, and defensive back. Start up front with the defensive line. Dallas signs at least one undrafted defensive end or edge rusher who fits that classic traits profile, maybe 6'4", 250, 260 pounds, long arms, flashes of bend or explosiveness, but maybe only 1 year of high-level production in college. These are the types of guys you throw into the edge room and say, let's see if we can coach him up. The Cowboys love to rotate pass rushers. They love waves on the defensive line, so if this UDFA edge can be disruptive in preseason games, he could sneak onto the roster or certainly onto the practice squad as a developmental rusher. What the coaches will look for: get off at the snap, the ability to convert speed to power, some understanding of hand usage, and hustle on the backside of runs. Special teams matters here too. If he can run and hit on coverage units, that's another box checked. And remember, injuries at edge happen every year. Having another young, cheap pass rusher stashed away is extremely valuable. Inside, they may have picked up a UDFA defensive tackle. That position is all about leverage, strength, and motor. A lot of interior linemen fall through the draft cracks because they don't have elite testing numbers or because they're a little undersized or played at smaller schools. But when you watch the tape, they're always around the ball. Dallas is going to bring that type of player into camp and see if he can be disruptive against the run and occasionally push the pocket. For an undrafted defensive tackle, the keys are pad level, hand violence, and effort. If he's consistently winning with leverage, not getting washed out by combo blocks, and can chase screens and perimeter plays, that's the kind of guy defensive line coaches love working with. Even if he doesn't make the 53 right away, he can be a call-up candidate if the run defense struggles or if injuries mount during the season. Linebacker is another spot the Cowboys always keep churning at the back end, especially for special teams. So one of the 10 UDFAs is a linebacker prospect, and his ticket to the NFL is pretty simple: run, hit, and know your assignments. This is the prototype UDFA linebacker. Probably a tackling machine in college, maybe not the best in man coverage against tight ends, but always around the football. He's going to have to show that he can quickly learn the Cowboys' defensive calls, understand his run fits, and most importantly, be a demon on special teams. When we talk about special teams in this context, think of kickoff coverage, punt coverage, and punt return blocking. That's where UDFA linebackers earn their checks. The Cowboys' special teams coordinator is going to be watching every rep he takes in practice and in preseason games. If he consistently beats his block, stays in his lane, and makes secure tackles in space, he can stick. At linebacker, versatility is a plus too. If he can play both inside and outside, or slide into different sub-packages, that helps his case even more. Then we get to the secondary, where the Cowboys signed at least 2 defensive backs as UDFAs, and this is classic Dallas. Take swings at corners and safeties with length, ball skills, and maybe some positional versatility to play in the slot or deep. The first of those UDFA defensive backs is likely a cornerback with size, maybe 6'1" or 6'2", who can run in the low 4.5s and has a history of breaking up passes in college. He might have slipped in the draft due to questions about long speed, competition level, or some inconsistency in technique, but the traits are there. Dallas loves corners who can play press coverage, get their hands on receivers at the line, and then use their length to disrupt at the catch point. The learning curve for a UDFA corner is often steep. You're going from covering college receivers to dealing with NFL route runners. But if he can show he's coachable, that his eyes are in the right place in zone, and that he's not afraid to tackle, he's got a shot. He'll also be asked to contribute on special teams, especially as a gunner on punt team and as a jammer on punt return. The other defensive back is likely a safety or nickel hybrid, and that versatility is what could give him a real chance. A UDFA safety who can roll down into the box, play some dime linebacker, cover tight ends, and drop deep in 2 high looks gives the Cowboys options on defense. They'll throw him into a lot of different roles during camp: third safety, big nickel, sub-package coverage man. The key for him will be communication and angles. Safeties have to be the last line of defense. Bad angles equal big plays for the offense. If he shows good instincts, quick trigger against the run, and reliable tackling, he can impress the staff. And just like the linebacker, his immediate ticket to sticking around is special teams. Many safeties carve out their first few seasons in the league almost exclusively on special teams units before they crack the defensive rotation. Dallas knows that, and this UDFA safety will get a ton of reps there. Now, let's zoom out and talk about why the Cowboys bring in this specific mix. Two tight ends headlined by Michael Trigg and DJ Rogers, a wide receiver, a running back, an offensive lineman, a couple of defensive linemen, a linebacker, and two defensive backs. This is about building a balanced 90-man roster for OTAs, minicamp, and training camp that allows them to have full position groups, intense competition, and enough young, cheap, high-upside players that if even one or two of them hits, it's a huge win. The odds for any individual UDFA making the 53-man roster are low, but not impossible. Around the league, every year there are multiple undrafted guys who not only make their team, but become real contributors. The Cowboys themselves have a history of finding value after the draft, whether it's role players, special team standouts, or even the occasional starter. That's why fans should actually pay attention to these signings. It's not just camp bodies, it's a targeted attempt to fill gaps. In terms of expectations, it's important to be realistic, but also optimistic. You're not bringing these guys in assuming they'll be Pro Bowlers. You're looking for role players, depth, and maybe one or two players who exceed their draft status. If Dallas can get one UDFA to make the 53-man roster and another two or three to stick on the practice squad and develop, that's a successful undrafted class. The upside swing is that someone like Michael Trigg blossoms into a legitimate pass-catching weapon, or DJ Rogers becomes a key special teamer and reliable TE3 who's active on game days. Those kinds of outcomes significantly help your roster, especially when you're dealing with a tight salary cap and big contracts for your stars. So to recap the big storyline, after the 2026 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys move quickly to sign 10 undrafted free agents. The headline names are tight ends Michael Trigg and DJ Rogers, both bringing athletic upside and competition to the tight end room. Around them, the Cowboys add a wide receiver, a running back, an offensive lineman, an edge rusher, an interior defensive lineman, a linebacker, and two defensive backs. Each of these players is a bet on traits, on production, on effort, on scheme fit. Not all of them will hit. Most won't. But the few that do can change the complexion of your depth chart and give you cheap, controllable, ascending talent that every team in the league is desperate to find. Let me know down in the comments which UDFA you're most excited about. Is it Michael Trigg's upside as a red zone mismatch? DJ Rogers as a do-it-all tight end and special teams ace? Or are you more intrigued by the defensive guys, maybe that long athletic corner, or the high motor edge rusher? I'll be reading your thoughts and replying down there, and we'll keep tracking how these guys perform throughout camp and the preseason. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want more deep dives on the Cowboys roster, including film studies and position-by-position battles, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our off-season content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.